Passamos então para a Sessão Plenária 5, dedicada ao alinhamento das prioridades estratégicas nacionais e da União Europeia em matéria de investigação e inovação. Esta sessão abordará os temas centrais para o futuro da ciência e da inovação, incluindo a reforma do Sistema Científico e de Inovação português, o próximo Programa-Quadro Europeu e também as prioridades estratégicas para a investigação e inovação na Europa. Informamos, desde já, que esta sessão decorrerá integralmente em língua inglesa. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming His Excellency Fernando Alexandre, Minister for Education, Science and Innovation, who will deliver a keynote address entitled The Reform of the Portuguese Science and Innovation System and the New European Framework Programme.
Good morning, dear Commissioner, Ekaterina Zaharieva. Welcome to Portugal. Thank you for coming to be with us to discuss what we are doing in Portugal to improve our scientific and innovation system, and also always looking at what is happening at the European Commission, and we will have the opportunity to have your views and about what is happening in the European Commission. So I'm going to do a presentation about the reforms in the Portuguese scientific and innovation system and the challenges that we face in Portugal, and also the challenges that the European Union is facing. So these two pictures, they show or they resume some of the most important challenges that the European Union is facing. So the first one shows that productivity, in terms of productivity, the European Union is lagging behind the United States. And we will see that a significant share of this gap between productivity in the European Union and in the United States has to do with the lag that we have in the tech sector. The other picture shows that the European Union has been losing weight on the world economy relative to the United States and to China. These data, what they show is that there are some risks for the European Union society, because once you get behind your competitors, it means that in terms of the capacity to generate revenue and the conditions for the well-being, you may lag behind. And if you lag behind in terms of revenue, it means that you will have challenges in terms of retaining talent, and namely when you talk about researchers. But Portugal shares, we are part of the European Union, we share some of the European Union challenges, but we have our own very specific challenges. So in this case, I'm not comparing productivity, the productivity of the Portuguese economy relative to the United States. I'm just comparing the productivity of the Portuguese economy relative to the European Union, to the average of the European Union. And what you see is that we have had difficulties in catching up with the average. I'm not talking about frontier countries, I'm talking about the average of productivity in the European Union. So if you look at the GDP per capita relative to the average in the European Union, you see that we have been stagnant around 80%. That is something that, it has been going on for decades. Sometimes it was even worse than this, but we have like a ceiling that we cannot surpass, that is like this 80% of the average of the European Union. And so we have to be we have to target what are the challenges that we have in order to define the instruments, the strategies to be successful. Here I'm just showing several data from very important reports that were published recently promoted by the European Commission, so the Draghi report, the Letta report, the Heitor report, and I would like to stress some of this data. One is related with what I mentioned before. So when you look at the gap between productivity in Europe and in the United States, like 70% of that gap is explained by tech sectors. That is, the most important sectors for productivity growth are the ones where Europe is lagging behind relative to the United States. That is not very promising. It has a lot of risks, and it suggests that it might even get worse in the future. Another relevant fact, because of the importance of tech sectors, is that, for instance, only 4 of the 50 tech companies are European. Okay, so when you look at the top 50 tech companies, a very, very small number are European. And it also has implications for our competitiveness. Another data that I would like to stress is the amount of venture capital globally, the share that Europe has been able to raise. That is just 5% of the total venture capital. So, and it compares like to more than 50% in the United States and 40% in China, okay? Another fact that is also very important is the average time to agree that the European Union takes to agree new laws. So the average time is 90 months. So it's a regulatory framework that is very complex, very slow, and of course it affects competitiveness, namely when you are talking about areas of research and innovation where we have to be fast. Another fact that I would like to stress is the fact that 75 to 90% of global wafer fabrication, semiconductors, for instance, most of that capacity is in Asia. So the European Union is very dependent on some materials or some equipments that are crucial for our competitiveness. And another data that is relevant concerning the current geopolitical situation is the share of procurement in the area of defense that goes to European companies. That is also very, very slow. Most of it still goes to the United States. So we have a very challenging context, okay, with geopolitical changes, a very swift technological change that will impact on the position of the different economic areas, socioeconomic transformations. For instance, in Europe, aging is very, very important. And we know that all those challenges we will only succeed in dealing with those challenges with more and better education, more and better science, more and better innovation. So I'm just citing Philippe Aghion, the recent Nobel Prize in Economics, that said that to an interview to the European Commission, that there are 2 ways to grow. You can catch up with others. That is something that Portugal has been trying to do for decades, and you saw that we have not succeeded in that, okay? You are just trying to imitate what the others do, and you are always lagging behind. Or you can pioneer the next breakthrough, and for that, we have to invest in fundamental research. That is something that we cannot forget in Europe. That is something that we cannot forget in Portugal. But for education, for the investment in education, science and innovation, to get the results that we expect, to get the impact that we expect, there are 2 conditions that I would like to emphasize that I know are very important also for the European Commission. The first one is that we really have to fight fragmentation in Europe, and we have to build the 5th freedom in Europe that is proposed in the Letta report. For that, and the Commissioner Ekaterina is working hard on that, we have to present We have to have the new European Research Area Act and the new Innovation Act that will be crucial for the circulation of research, of knowledge across Europe, and to build a real single market for education, research, and innovation. I would like also to stress that to have this single market, we also have to be careful and to look at the asymmetries that we have within the European Union. And about that, I would like to stress the role, the very important role of widening, where Portugal is number one. So congratulations to many of you that are here and that have succeeded in some of these very relevant projects. We also have to build the conditions for reducing the asymmetries, because if you have very significant asymmetries between countries, you won't have a real unique single market for education, research, and innovation. So you really have to care about inequalities, asymmetries within the European Union, that is between countries. So the response of the European Commission to this context was, or it is reflected in the proposal for the next multi-annual framework, financial framework. And the most significant change that will affect all Europe, but this community that is here in this session, is that competitiveness became the focus of the next multi-annual financial framework, because the European Union is facing so many challenges, and some of them are really crucial for the future of Europe. What the European Union is doing is putting a lot of focus on competitiveness. And the proposal of the European Commission is to make Horizon Europe very close, or inside, if you want, the European Competitiveness Fund. And the point is that what the European Commission is trying is to have this full investment journey, okay, that will make very close what happens in the lab with what happens in the fab. Okay, so this is a change in the paradigm, and the most significant amount of funds for competitiveness will be here, and Portugal has to be prepared to be competitive in the applications to ECF and to Horizon Europe. And for that, we have to reform our system, our education, our scientific, and our innovation system. And so you have just in the former session the presentation of the main principles of the revision of the new law for science and innovation, okay, that the final goal is to prepare our institutions to be more competitive and to succeed in the next financial framework. So we have a very fragmented system that is pictured in this slide, and this very fragmented system is very challenging for Portugal to have institutions with the critical mass, with the capacity to really succeed in projects that will be very competitive. It's not like, so we expect that we still may apply to widening, although we are very proud that we are getting out of widening, because we have been very successful with widening. We expect that there is some transition for that. But we know that the really competitive projects and the ones that have more impact and that have a potential to transform the economy are the ones that will be in the Horizon Europe and also in the European Competitiveness Fund. So we have to prepare our system for that. And we also have created the new Agency for Science and Innovation that is also aligned with what is happening in Europe, what is happening at the European Commission and what is happening in other European countries. Because we have to have a better integration of research and innovation. We have to have this entire value chain between research and innovation. And we also have, for our institutions to be more competitive, we have to have more stability, more predictability, and for that we are proposing a 5-year budget, a multi-annual budget, a 5-year budget for the period 2027-2031. And with this stability and predictability, this 5-year budget, we have to have a plan. We have to have a strategy to define what are our priorities in terms of research and innovation. We have to make choices. And that's what happened here in the first session of this meeting, that Professor Rosário Partidário presented not the methodology, but part of the work that is being done to define the priorities for research and innovation. Rosário presented the vision for Portugal in 2050. Okay, so what we want is to make Portugal a country that creates talent and knowledge and transform them into economic, social, cultural, and environmental value. Okay, and we want to make education, science, innovation at the center of our development strategy. We know that it all starts in our national science and technology innovation system. Okay, so it is the basis of this building. We have scientific and technological infrastructures that are crucial for that. Human resources, researchers, of course, they are at the center of the system. And with the multi-annual budget, always protecting fundamental research, defining priorities for medium and long term, linking research to innovation, we will succeed with the societal challenges that we have. So you know that the questions that we have at this exercise for defining priorities for research and innovation are these ones. Okay, so we have to, it's a very complicated exercise. It's also very, very challenging. Okay, I know that since the beginning. It's something that I anticipated. Okay, and it will be, the next months will be very, very difficult, but very interesting. Okay, I think it could be the most important and the best discussion that we may have in the country. Okay, it's a defining discussion for what are our priorities for research and innovation. And besides the budget that is going to, I would stress two decisions that are very important that have an implication for the rest of the problem. That are, what is the part of the budget that is going to strategic domains? That is, what is the part of the budget that is going for top-down strategies? Okay, because we are going to define strategic domains. And the other question is, what are the strategic domains? Okay, how many and which? Okay. And now the critical decision factors that are at the center of this methodology. Okay, and that's why we had this moment of public consultation. We want everybody to have the opportunity to participate because this moment is crucial. Okay, what are the critical decision factors? And we will have 5 critical decision factors. Of course, the first is scientific research excellence. Okay, no doubts about that. Without excellent research, we cannot achieve our goals. We want to make the scientific and innovation system at the center or the driver of development in Portugal, national and regionally, okay? We have to have a good coordination in our scientific and innovation system, okay? So that has to do with the science, the science and innovation law, okay? How do we define the institutional framework for the institutions to coordinate between themselves? And, of course, stable and diversified funding. So the stable funding comes with the multi-annual budget. The diversified comes with budget from the AI squared, cohesion funds, European funds, private funds from companies, okay? And, of course, as I mentioned in the beginning, I hope a good share of funds from Horizon Europe and the European Competitiveness Fund. Okay, so we have to have a mix of all these funds, and we expect that the amount of fundings that we put through the AI squared will be the basis to leverage the capacity to get funds from other sources. And of course, last but not least, human resources and infrastructures. So I'm just going to go through some data that characterizes our scientific and innovation system, looking at the critical decision factors. For instance, critical decision factor 1, that has to do with scientific research excellence. So, using the data from the report that was produced in the context of this strategic assessment, we can see that Portugal has an interesting position given its starting point in terms of research, okay? In some measures, we are above the average. I always say that the average is not our target, okay? If you target for the average, you don't get the average. You have to target higher, okay? But we are, in some dimensions, better than the average, and that is good, okay? You have some numbers concerning that. So, like half of our international scientific papers are published in Q1 journals, okay? It's interesting. Even the ones that are at the top journals are interesting. The number that we are able to position in those journals. And for instance, if you look at the relative specialization index that makes a comparison between publications in Portugal per area relative to the average of the European Union, there are some areas where we are above the average. For instance, natural sciences, engineering and technology, medical and health sciences on the average, social sciences, agriculture and veterinary sciences. So what this means is that we have some competitive advantages in some areas, and that, of course, should be taken into account in the exercise that we are doing. Scientific and innovation as a development driver. It's very important to look, and that is also related with the revision of the science and innovation law, to look at the interface centers and collabs that are dispersed across the country, okay? They are very important for the competitiveness of regions and also for cohesion, regional cohesion, okay? We have to look at that, we have to evaluate them, we have to find the funding for them, the right mix of funding for them, because they are crucial for the development of those regions. Critical decision factor number 4, stable and diversified funding. Of course, the investment that has been going through the Science and Technology Foundation, FCT, is very important, okay? It has been increasing in the last 3 years significantly, okay? So in the last 3 years, 2024, 2025, 2026, with this government, we reached maximum values for the funding of FCT, by far, okay? I'm not talking about 5%, I'm talking about 20, 30%. You see that is a significant increase, okay? And I expect to have a good performance in 2026 too, okay? And we have been very successful in getting funds from Horizon Europe, okay? These teaming projects, so Portugal is #1 in widening and is #1 in teaming projects, and these projects, so now we have 12 projects that amount to a total of investment of around 350 million euros. It's amazing, okay? It was one of the best news that I got in these 2 years in this position. I was really happy, when you got 6 teaming projects from north to south in different areas. It was amazing. Congratulations. Congratulations. And this capacity to participate in competitive projects, we are not competing with all the countries in the European Union, but we are competing with a lot of countries. This implies that you have to have very good projects. And these projects have a great impact in our scientific and innovation system. I really believe in these matching funds projects. I'm very supportive of them. So they are validated at the European level, and then the national funds should cover the half of the total investment. Critical factor number 5, human resources and infrastructures. So Portugal has made very, very significant progresses in the qualification of the Portuguese people. Is really impressive, okay? We still have some way to do, but we are on the average in terms of the population between 25 and 34 that have a degree, a higher education degree. It's amazing when you take in consideration what was the starting point, okay? It's amazing. And here we have also been doing very important reforms that will contribute to a deeper integration in the European education area, okay? So the new RGER, the new institutional framework for higher educations, and the new decree law for degrees and diplomas will give the setting, the institutional setting for Portuguese institutions to engage in networks for Portuguese graduates to move across Europe, for researchers to move across Europe, and that is the importance of reforms. If you don't change the institutional setting, institutions will not have the instruments to adapt and to reach the goals that we want them to reach. So these 2 reforms are aligned with the letter report to building the 5th freedom. In terms of infrastructure, still concerning human resources. So we have been increasing the number of scholarships for PhDs. Okay, so academic scholarships, they are stable at 1,000. Okay, but we have been increasing since 2024 the number of non-academic PhDs. Okay, so currently in the current program, 600 scholarships are available for applications. So there you have the numbers for PhDs, total PhDs that we have in Portugal that are above 20,000. But I would like to stress, and that is something that we all know, that we have a very small number of PhDs in companies. And PhDs in companies are one of the most efficient ways to transfer knowledge from universities to companies. When a person moves from a lab to a company, it takes they take with them all the knowledge they get, the network, the relationships, and so it's really, really important to have more PhDs in companies, and that's the reason why we are increasing the number of scholarships for non-academics. Concerning infrastructures that are also very important, and we have to think about them strategically. So what are the research and technology infrastructures that are strategic for the country? How do they place in terms of the European infrastructures for research and technology? So Portugal is member of 17 small-scale European research infrastructures. We have very interesting projects. For instance, in high-power computing, we have very interesting partnerships with Spain. So Deucalion, that is based in Guimarães at University of Minho, is linked to Mare Nostrum, and Portugal has 8% of the capacity of Mare Nostrum 5, that is a supercomputer in Barcelona. And so we have to have this ability to develop, to define what are our strategic infrastructures, and then to develop them coordinated with other countries. With Spain, it's of course a very close partner, but of course with all European countries. And so we have this policy support facility that will start in October to evaluate our research and technology infrastructures, and we hope to have and I thank the Commissioner for the collaboration, this very important project, because infrastructures are at the center of the capacity to generate knowledge and innovation. And finally, I could not final my presentation with a mention to Ciência Viva. That has had, it's an iconic program in Portugal. Many of you probably are here now because you had some contact with this program when you were very young. And so this is a program that has contributed from a very early age to show the relevance of science, how important it is science to improve the lives of people. And it also contributes for the confidence that the Portuguese have in science and innovation. And that is crucial for us to attract more investment for science, more investment for innovation, and more partners for this endeavor that we have, that is to transform our country, being part of Europe, contributing to the solutions of the challenges that the European Union faces. And we can all only do that if we do it together, joining universities, research centers, companies, and other entities. So thank you very much for participating in this very important meeting, and congratulations to the organizers of AI Squared. Thank you very much.
His Excellency Fernando Alexandre, Minister for Education, Science and Innovation. Thank you very much for your words. And now we are also honored to welcome Ekaterina Zaharieva, European Commissioner for Startups, Research and Innovation, whom we now invite to deliver her keynote address entitled Properties for the New European Framework Programme, FP10 and the European Competitiveness Fund.
Bon dia, dear Minister, excellent presentation. I wish you really to succeed with this reform, because I believe that it will be crucial for keeping your people in Portugal, keeping your competitiveness and your talented people here, and the added value in Portugal and in Europe. That's really key. It's really a pleasure to talk today with all of you about European research and innovation, but also Portuguese research and innovation. And as the Minister said, I think that you should be proud with your progress. You're number one in widening countries. And if you see the data, you have received 100 million more compared with the previous program, and we still have a year and a half until the end of this program. So altogether, we have already awarded and projects about 1.3 billion euros. If you look at the data, 20 years ago, Portuguese participation in the European partnerships was about 40%. The share today is 95%. So that shows that huge progress that you have made. And this is, of course, the effort at the European level, but also at national level. We should start with the national level, because being the biggest research innovation program in the world, it's still only 10% of the public investment in R&I. That's Horizon Europe. So that's really key, the national efforts and the strategies and the reforms that you are implementing, and I hope that you are going to support this reform. But what is more telling than the figures are the success stories that emerge from there. Later today, I will visit a unicorn factory, and I'm sure that I will meet more positive and good stories that we can tell. Last year, the European Research Council selected 3 Portuguese. That's really amazing how big success you have in the European Research Council. I was really impressed by the numbers that I saw. So it selected 3 Portuguese scientists affiliated to the National Science Technology System to support the commercialization of their results in biomedical, water quality, and disinformation. Another telling example is that of Sword Health. 11 years ago, PhD student Virgilio Bento decided to turn his academic research at the University of Aveiro into a startup. The mission was to free people from pain, and to do so thanks to the power of AI. The European Innovation Council and the European Institute for Innovation and Technology saw the potential and supported it. Today, Sword Health is a global champion. Last year, it grew by 33%, reaching a valuation of 3 billion euros. But yet, the story of Sword Health also holds another more sobering lesson. As it expanded, the company maintained a strong presence in Europe, in Portugal, cooperating with your National Health Service, as well as Germany or Greece and other member states. Yet, in 2020, it moved its headquarters in the US, and we can imagine the reason. Europe is excellent in creating research and startups, but we struggle at scaling them. Our markets remain fragmented, and I believe that's our biggest problem and challenge, fragmentation. And funding is not adequate. Funding is not adequate because when we speak about funding, people always think about national budgets or European programs, but I would say our biggest challenge is how to motivate the private sector to invest more in R&I and innovation. Addressing this gap, I would say, not adequate funding and fragmentation is really crucial priority of my mandate. Because this is not just an economic matter, it's a matter of our sovereignty, our strategic autonomy, and our competitiveness. I many times say we cannot afford to become incubator for other regions to profit. We pay with the taxpayers' money for excellent education, very affordable, for excellent higher education, for research projects, for seed capital, and when those companies are at scale-up phase, then they're ready to create more jobs to become a global champions. We don't provide an adequate equity funding. We don't have big enough VCs to support this. We still don't have a capital market union. And when they have to exit, even if they find investors in Europe and they're still, their headquarters and intellectual property rights are here, when they exit, they go to New York. So Commissioner Albuquerque, it's working on capital market union and saving and investment union, and I hope that Portuguese government will support these efforts. And then we have to profit. We are just incubator and for other regions. I will mention 3 areas we are working on. First, increasing and improving funding, as the Minister already mentioned, but I think he didn't mention the number, which is really important because I think the money also are important, how much we invest in R&I. We did propose doubling the budget of Horizon Europe with 175 billion euros. double the budget of the European Research Council and Maria Skłodowska-Curie, and triple the budget of the European Innovation Council. Meanwhile, last month we launched a new 5 billion instrument to help our startups grow in Europe, the Scale Up Europe Fund. This is a public-private fund, 1 billion from Horizon Europe and 4 billion from the big corporations and foundations, European corporations and foundations. It will become operative in the autumn, so that means it will start first investment round in the autumn, and it will support the best deep tech innovation with around averaging above 100 million euros per company, because this is the scale our companies need to be kept in Europe, especially deep tech scale-ups. Second, we must ensure science turns into real impact for our citizens. Our research is excellent, but it must reach the market. The upcoming European Innovation Act will help innovators tap into the great potential of public procurement, which represents about 15% of EU GDP. Said with another words, this is the demand part. Do we procure from our innovators? Do we procure pre-commercial innovation? We don't enough. We are below 1% on average in Europe. Below 1% is pre-commercial public procurement. 10 is innovation procurement. And sometimes people think that it is more expensive. No, it's not. At the end, always it's cheaper when you actually support European innovation. And we support the companies to become global. They create jobs everywhere. So that's really key, and I believe that if we manage to approve this act as fast as possible, this will create a big opportunities also for Portugal and the government and innovators here as well. We are also developing a blueprint on academic IP and spin-offs, for which survey is open now, and I really invite you to contribute what you want to see and what you expect to see in this blueprint for IP. And our EU Inc. is already on the table. There's no need to explain why it is so important, but it's part of the tackling the problem with fragmentation. It will allow, once you register a company, to operate in all 27 member states with the same format and the same rules. Finally, we will continue strengthening our research base. Without fundamental research, there is no innovation. Last year, we launched Choose Europe, which has now reached 1 billion. It starts with 500 million, now it's 1 billion euros for 2 years to support and retain the best EU and global minds. By the autumn, a new European Research Area Act will address challenges to the free movement of knowledge, so-called fifth freedom. It will make research, the goal is to make research careers more attractive through a possible European model contract. I might say it's very national competence, so we are working on the thin ice. I know that the scientists and researchers are really expecting this, so to say, European model of contract, and they want predictability, they want permanent contracts, they want a good social security support. So we are working in the Commission how to really to make this possible, maybe through recommendations. What is really key, and it's really important, that we are going to make scientific freedom part of the European law. That's really important, because I believe why scientists choose Europe is not only because of the money and the good infrastructure, because of the ecosystem is really important, but also the freedom of do their research, which is not the case everywhere in the world, unfortunately. But also, what is really important, this act will going to facilitate the recognition of doctoral degrees, and of course, other provisions that we are going to propose. So, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, we have chosen a really good motto for your conference, preparar a futuro. to prepare for the future, I believe that we have everything that we need. And I believe that we should stop complaining. We know our challenges. We have just to tackle them and to work together. And I believe that what we have is the best minds in the world. We have the best scientists in the world. That's what we need, actually. We are a wealthy continent. We're a big market. Yes, not truly single market, but we're a big market. So we have excellent ecosystems. We have invested years in good research innovation infrastructures. So what we need is to tackle the problems of fragmentation, to invest smarter our money. That's mean really do these things with the research and technology infrastructures, improve access, transport access to research and technology infrastructures, transport access to possibility for financing. So that's the things that all of them are on the table, and I believe that together we can really achieve the simple things that I want to achieve, just Europe to become the best place for researchers and innovators. So thank you so much for inviting me here. I wish you a very successful conference, and I'm very positive seeing the plans for reforming here the system, and I'm pretty much sure that in some years the Portugal will report even bigger success stories with support of Horizon Europe and other instruments. So thank you so much for your attention.